Narcissistic abuse can turn you into a loner, a person who prefers isolation over the company of other people, including your friends and family. Why? Well, you struggle with symptoms nobody understands, like social anxiety, social awkwardness, agoraphobia, fear of being judged, fear of not being understood, and fear of being taken advantage of. The entire world becomes a dangerous place to explore. So what do you do as a trauma response? You choose to stay with yourself. Loneliness becomes a constant companion, but unfortunately others don't understand that. Others label you as egocentric. Oh, he or she, a big introvert. They have no social skills whatsoever. But today, I'm going to prove to you why it's okay being this way and what you can do about it. I am Danish, psychologist, a trauma therapist, and a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. Today's episode is all about 5 reasons why you prefer to stay at home after surviving narcissistic abuse. If that sounds interesting and you're eager to find out what this is all about, please consider subscribing, because your subscription helps in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. Number 1, being at home means having control over the environment, over your surroundings, over everything, but in a positive way. We're not talking about narcissistic control where you have to have everything going your way. No. We're talking about predictability. We're talking about certainty. Being at home means comfort, the comfort your bed has to offer. The same place in your couch where you can sit and relax, watch some TV, where you don't have to talk and deal with people because your soul is drained. You are going through soul fatigue. And when you interact with others, it feels inauthentic because it's not coming from within. You don't have that energy. So you prefer to stay inside those 4 walls. Why? Well, it brings you peace. Others tell you, don't you get bored? Don't you want to talk to others? Perhaps not. You ruminate and you also sit with yourself, which means you get the space to process everything the narcissist did to you. That's also a reason why you might just want to not see others or go out there. And then you try to dissect the entire relationship to see them for who they are. Whether or not you do it successfully, that is a different question. That is also what, let's say, motivates us to be with our own company. It's about positive control. It's about not having to deal with judgmental people, demanding people, controlling people, pushy people, doing things at your own pace, nobody yelling at you, nobody screaming at the top of their lungs, berating you, belittling you, harming you. You don't have to walk on eggshells. That sounds like a dream, doesn't it? It may be boring to those who haven't been through what you have been through, but to you, it's a dream come true. How do I know this? Well, that's been my life since last 8 or 9 years. Most of the time, I am at home, and that is what contributed a lot to my healing journey. Number 2, it's your own space and you can claim it. See, autonomy, freedom, peace, serenity, these words become alien to us, survivors of narcissistic abuse, when the narcissist is living in the same place that we share with them. We don't have a safe corner to go to. We may spend a few minutes or some hours in the washroom, in the bathroom, but that's all we get. That's it. And they try to disturb us there as well. They don't even let us sleep. So that means zero autonomy, zero freedom, zero identity, zero personality. It's gone, it's eliminated, it's erased. But then when you move into a new space, that might be a small cube, that only has the capacity for one single person, nothing more, nothing less. That would be more than enough for you. I remember telling myself, or feeling like that one room that I first rented felt like it was my empire, it was my palace, because there was a small bed, a small kitchen, just a small room. It felt like, wow, peace. Nobody is banging pots. Nobody is hitting each other. There is just peace. There is silence. So it is the autonomy, the freedom that become so alluring to us. Number 3, you may struggle with agoraphobia, fear of crowded places, the fear of small spaces, the fear of being around so many people. Maybe You have auditory sensitivity. Loud noises hurt your ears. A lot of people talking at once. You can't hold space for that. It's so triggering. And you don't know who to respond to first. The demand of attention. You can't stand that at all. I have been there. What is alluring for others, what is exciting, may be daunting for you. That's why I still do to a certain extent, but I used to avoid going to malls, theaters, shopping complexes completely because that was not my thing. Social anxiety and social awkwardness are the other two problems that stop a lot of narcissistic abuse survivors from going out there and exploring the world. What is the origin of these two issues? It is the maltreatment of the narcissist. It's how they treated you. It's how you were never able to have a conversation with them. The choice of words or the tone of your voice or the way you were describing the situation, there was always an error, always a problem they pointed out. Then you corrected it. Still, it felt like you were talking to a wall. It was a monologue. There was no listening. There was no validation. They silenced you. They suppressed your voice. So then you became anxious. Slowly, you started feeling anxious about opening your mouth and saying anything at all. And that is what led to your introversion or your altered personality. This is my personal experience. There is coherence in my speech. Now I recognize it. But earlier, I think in my formative years and some of the early developmental years when I was in class 5, 6, 7, 8, I used to stutter a lot, thinking I have a problem. It was not lack of confidence. It was presence of terror in my body. My father would always mock me while talking or slap me, punch me, hit me, and then that would stop me from just pouring my heart out. I would just say nothing, either say yes or no, that's it. So that is the cause of your social anxiety and social awkwardness, because you take that trauma brain into these situations and you misread them, mind read people, and on the basis of their behavior, you assume that the cause behind the behavior is the same. It may look like they are behaving the same way your abuser has behaved, but the cause may be entirely different. However, our trauma brain, our survival brain keeps us safe, and what does it do? It stops us from initiating a conversation, which in this case may be detrimental to us, but it does what it knows the best. Number 4. When at home, survivors of narcissistic abuse can control their time. They can choose when and how to engage with others. Mostly it's virtual. If it is work from home, which is basically the culture nowadays, you can choose to engage when and how. You can decide the medium. But when you are in the physical presence of others, you're compelled and forced to stay there. You cannot take care of your hurting body. You cannot tend to your own wounds that need healing. You can't sit there and pay constant attention. Maybe your ADHD caused by narcissistic abuse trauma acts up and you can't focus, you zone out, you dissociate. It's overwhelming to hear all those voices at once. But at home, when it's in your hands, you decide the schedule, you decide when the meetings are going to happen and how they are going to happen. That is freedom. And that is also why people or narcissistic abuse survivors choose to stay at home, because they don't have to feel that social anxiety I was talking about. And they are able to express themselves fully because there is a barrier between them and those who are watching them or listening to them. Number 5 and the last one, the solitude of a safe space like a home can facilitate deep healing. Our nervous systems are overwhelmed beyond our capacity. Our window of tolerance, which is our capacity to tolerate a given amount of stress at any point, it's too narrow. Like a small thing happens and we are thrown out of our window of tolerance, and then we either become anxious, we feel panicky, or we go straight away into the zone of freeze. We feel like collapsing, there is no energy left. That shows overwhelm. And when we are hyperstimulated by people, by the tasks we have to perform when in public, we can't function. That impacts our performance. Not only that, as I said, healing. What is trauma healing? We all say healing, 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 but what is trauma healing? According to the triphasic model of trauma treatment given by Judith H. Herman, the pioneer in the field of psychological trauma, first stage of healing from any form of complex trauma is stabilization. Not catharsis, not digging in and finding those memories and basically it's just vomiting it all out. No, that's not what is going to help you. What is going to help you instead is stabilization. The stabilization of your nervous system. Just maintaining a consistent, predictable, repeatable, dependable routine. An environment that will stay sane for months or years, creating that sense of safety for your nervous system to shut down survival responses and give access to executive functioning, or your capability to think rationally, decide, perform, thrive, grow, and all that. So it's that stabilization we get from our spaces which kind of suggests that we should stay in there and experience it more, especially in the initial phases of your healing. When you're deeply healing those wounds, that predictability, that dependency, that connection with your safe space is what keeps us inside and prevents us from interacting with others. So my main goal behind creating this episode was normalizing self-isolation, normalizing the preference we give to staying at home. It's not a curse. Society, culture has its own, they have their own standards. They have their own expectations from us, but I want you to question them. Are they fundamentally narcissistic? Why? According to who, and why am I needed to be there, or why am I needed to act a certain way? That is freedom. Freedom is not just from the narcissist that you're with. Freedom is from everything narcissistic. That is how you should use your experience with the narcissist as a catalyst in your life to move on. So that was it for today's episode. I hope you found it insightful. Let's bring this to an end. Let me know if you have anything to share in the comments below. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.